Welcome. We are live here in Las Vegas, Nevada for our coverage of today's remarks, waiting for President Trump at 8:30 local time. Vanessa Broussard, Brian Glenn live, as you can see, right in front of the beautiful hotel here in Las Vegas. And, once again, we're here in this beautiful state, but not necessarily we thought we'd be here today. Obviously, the caucus is today, but we're bringing some coverage to President Trump's remarks. So what's going on right now in the Supreme Court?
Right, that's actually going on right now as we speak, as Brian just mentioned, in the Supreme Court. What they're hearing is the 14th Amendment, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, and what that entails is an insurrection. If someone who is charged and convicted of an insurrection, if they can hold public office. And so they're looking at the January 6th case right now, and this all has to deal with Colorado. Colorado Supreme Court ruled that President Trump cannot be on the ballot for the 2024 primary. The Republican Party in Colorado, they appealed that decision to the U.S. Supreme Court, and that is going on right now in Washington, D.C. As they talk about if he can be on the ballot in Colorado. They will make that decision today, and then after that, President Trump is expected to make a hold a press conference at Mar-a-Lago. Once that happens, then he's coming to here in Nevada for the caucus. Yeah,
there you go. And so this is something that we have not seen the Supreme Court get involved in any type of political election matter since the Gore-Bush back. So it's been 24 years since that happened. So this is, in a way, a very historical moment in our country's history, as it's going on right now. These oral arguments, and the way they set it up, Vanessa, each side gets 30 minutes, and then we don't really know typically when they're going to rule on this, but historically, after they have these debates, these arguments, if you will, they do take some time to release a statement. So will we get that today? I don't know. I doubt that we'll get some type of conclusion today, but nevertheless, this has major implications, not only for this election, but as we move forward.
It absolutely does, and it's not just for Colorado. It kind of gives the other states who have been trying to keep President Trump off the ballot the incentive, I guess, if they were to rule, if the Supreme Court of the United States was to rule against him, it kind of gives the other states the incentive to say, well, we're going to do this in our state too, and take it to the Supreme Court. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. It's going to be interesting to see what this does for the future of our country. But, Brian, if you look at what happened just 2 days ago in the Nevada primary, where President Trump was not even on the ballot in the primary, Nikki Haley was, along with some other candidates who are no longer in the race. You could write in or check none of these candidates, and none of these candidates won 60% by 60% of the vote, with Nikki Haley with just over 30%. So that goes to show you that even though President Trump was not on the ballot, the people still want President Trump in office.
They do. Okay, we've got a lot to unpack. Let's first thank our presenting sponsor for today. It's so important that we have partners like the Birch Gold Group that has stepped up and said, look, we support what you guys are doing. We support President Trump. But more importantly, they support you protecting your money and your wealth. Right now, before President Trump speaks in about less than 30 minutes, go text the words Trump to 989898. That's Trump to 989898. Get that free information kit on how to invest in gold, silver, and precious metals. They want to help you protect that 401k. Though I even show you how to convert a traditional IRA into a gold-backed IRA. Our friends over at the Birch Gold Group. So important that you do that. I had a chance the other day to talk to Philip with the Birch Gold Group. We're talking about the economy and inflation and the uncertainty in the markets. You'll see that commercial here shortly. But go check it out. Text the words Trump to 989898. That is the Birch Gold Group. Vanessa Broussard, Brian Glenn live. Let's take a look at where we're at right now. We are right off the Las Vegas Strip. We're in front of the beautiful Trump Hotel, gorgeous facility. I will say this is one of the hotels here in Las Vegas that does not have gambling. It is simply a luxurious 5-star hotel. Everything you would expect from the Trump brand, nothing but first class in every which way you look at it. We're very thankful that they have allowed us to come here today. Come out here and kind of give you a pre-show of what's going to happen a little bit later on this morning at 11:30 Eastern Time. Now, President Trump is expected to say a few words. You said this earlier, Vanessa. This is nothing more than a weaponization of our government and these states to basically keep President Trump off the ballot due to some type of charge of insurrection. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene did a great job 2 days ago in a bill that Matt Gaetz and Elise Stefanik has brought to the floor to basically to declare that President Trump did not incite an insurrection. Matter of fact, Vanessa, no one a part of January 6th has been charged with insurrection. No one. So if this was an insurrection and President Trump is I guess, to blame of inciting an insurrection, then why hasn't anyone associated with January 6th, thousands of people that have been arrested, no one has been charged with insurrection?
They haven't, and there are people still in jail because of January 6th, and you'll see it all the time, who they're supporters of these inmates who are saying free the J6ers. They need to be out of jail, and it's just a slap in the face or a way to say we've got you, we control you, and this is what we're going to do to the Trump supporters. And it's very scary that a lot of these people, we've seen the video released of what really happened on January 6th. And, you know, Brian, if you're looking at the definition of insurrection, it's a violent uprising against an authority or government. Was there violence on that day? Who was behind this violence on that day? If anybody incited this violence on that day? I'm thinking, in my opinion, it's coming behind the scenes from the other side, that it was all a planned an event. President Trump has been on camera stating to walk peacefully to the Capitol. And so peacefully and insurrection are complete opposites. In the dictionary, peacefully means you go and you can say what you want, you can think what you want. Never did he say go incite violence. If you look at a president saying walk peacefully to the Capitol and then say you can't run for president, we're going to keep you off the ballot for saying that, what does that say to future candidates or the future of our country?
Well, especially if you can if your political opponent is if you're beating them in the polls or you're beating them in every which way you look at it, if their playbook is I'll just get them removed from the ballot and then therefore they can't run. This sets major precedents, not only for this election, but for future elections as well. I'll point out Marjorie Taylor Greene, this happened to her about 2 years ago. There was an organization, it's like Free Elections for the People. It's got some kind of silly little name. Well, they did the same thing against her, and they tried to remove her from the ballot for re-election in 22 to take her off the ballot. So they're trying. This is what they do when they don't win and they can't win politically. They'll try to beat you in the courts, and it's something that is dangerous, and it should not happen, especially in this case because, like you just laid it out beautifully. I mean, he did not incite an insurrection. No one's been charged with insurrection. And this is just a way to get him off the ballot. But we're glad you're joining us. Vanessa Broussard, Brian Glenn. In about 20 minutes, President Trump will speak from Mar-a-Lago. He'll come out and give some comments and remarks to what you might be jumping in and listening to, because it is ongoing right now, the arguments for this case. Now, we were talking off air. This seems to be purely political. When you look at the 9 Supreme Court justices, it's a very through political lines here. This is, in a way, Democrats versus conservatives on this issue. I would hope that the Supreme Court justice would remove any type of political bias they might have for any party. I think that's that's not what a judge does. But unfortunately, that's not what we are in 2024.
No, and that's very scary. Again, looking at not just right now, but for the future of our country. If they do not go by the U.S. Constitution and was written in the U.S. Constitution in the 14th Amendment, Section 3, then it's very scary to know that none of us are safe. Nobody's safe. Not just anyone running for political office, but just an everyday American. No one's safe if judges don't go by the law. Yeah.
And to set up kind of what you're going to see today, we are going to kick off our caucus coverage here at, I believe it's 4:30 or 4 p.m. local time. We'll have to check on that. And that goes, because the caucus starts from 5 to 7:30 here in this state. So we got 2.5 hours, the caucus. So maybe by the end of the 7:30, when the polls close, we will have a maybe 30 minutes to an hour. We might be able to get an indication. New Hampshire took about an hour or so before we started getting results to come in. Clearly, President Trump will win this state because he's so far up in the polls. I mean, he's got 70%, I think, of the market here. They had a primary the other day, which is a worthless primary. We know that. Christina Bob and myself talked about that, how this primary here is just for grins and giggles. It's just to say you won the primary. No one thought that none of the above would actually come out victorious in this primary, but that's what happened. So we were talking off camera. Let's talk about the reason why you might see a Nikki Haley still sticking around in this election. You saw Ron DeSantis drop out. You saw everyone basically drop out and either support the president or they just dropped out and went away. I can only expect that the reason why Nikki Haley is still hanging around is because she's very hopeful, Vanessa, that this court case does swing against President Trump and the president is set so that all these other states were moving from the ballot, and she becomes the presumptive nominee for the GOP.
Yes, that's number one. And number two, she's holding out to see what happens in her home state of South Carolina, where she is down in the polls by 30%.
That wouldn't matter, though, Vanessa, if they kick him off the ballot. She can come in fourth place.
Right.
She would be like, well, I'm the only one standing. So I get what you're saying, but it doesn't matter.
Right. But if they rule in his favor, I think she's still holding on to South Carolina. So, people ask all the time, I wish I had $1 for every person who asked me this. I don't have an answer. Only Nikki Haley has the answer. But like you just said, there's only two things that we can think of, and that's waiting on her home state and hoping for the courts to rule against President Trump, and that one of these court cases will keep him off the primary in 2024. Yeah,
so much to unpack. And, of course, we started this thing in Iowa, the Iowa caucus, and Trump conventionally won that. We went over to New Hampshire primary. Trump overwhelmingly won that. We're here. Next stop would be South Carolina. So a lot of people are saying, well, if you go 0-4, if you're any other candidate and your last name's not Trump, then why keep going and keep pouring money into a race that's not working out? And I'll tell you the reason why they do that. It's called consultants. It's called people who fundraise for you. Those are the ones that are getting rich off this. Meanwhile, Nikki Haley is destroying her brand, any credibility, I think, for a future run in politics, to be quite honest with you. And I think Ron DeSantis was there at one point as well. By him stepping away, might have saved a little bit of face for him in the future. But when people do this, and overwhelmingly, Vanessa, the base, the American people, the voter, the GOP is so against anyone else other than Trump. I think it's political suicide to stay in this thing.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think you were spot on when you talked about Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis had the entire MAGA movement, for the most part, upset with him when he ran against President Trump, kind of turning his back on President Trump. And President Trump helped him get elected as governor of Florida. And so he ran against President Trump. So there was some little disputes there between the two. But as soon as he dropped out of the race, he endorsed President Trump. So that saved him and saved face for him. Same thing with other candidates as well. Burgum, Tim Scott. But then you have former candidates like Mike Pence, who have not made an endorsement yet. Chris Christie, who has not made an endorsement yet. So, like you mentioned, it is political suicide if you are going against Trump right now and then dropping out of the race and not endorsing him, because the MAGA movement is so strong, Brian. We saw that just 2 days ago here in Nevada, and we see it all over the country every day.
Yeah. I was talking to an Uber driver last night, and he says, hey, we've got a great governor for the most part. If you look at this state, it does have pockets of Democrats, and it's not completely a red state. There is, I think every state to a certain extent is on the verge of flipping at one point. At least the media wants you to think that. So when they do it, it doesn't come just a surprise. We're about 16 minutes past the hour. Bottom of the hour, we'll have President Trump speak. Before then, we do want to talk about our friends over at the Birch Gold Group. I can't, press even any harder than this, that you have to prepare for your financial future. And our friends over the Birch Gold Group want to do just that. Before President Trump speaks in the next 15 minutes, go text the words Trump. Get that free information kit to 989898 and get the information you need. You can flip a traditional IRA into a gold-backed IRA. It's easy to do. Thousands of our viewers have done that. Secure the future. I know the markets may seem like they're going up, but I think, and I said this before, I think it's a false run, because I think when the Trump victory does come, you'll see them crash the market to make it look like this is in reaction to him winning. It's all garbage. Support and to protect your investments. Go check it out. The text words Trump to 989898. That is a Birch Gold Group. Let's turn our attention real quickly what happened in the House just a few days ago. Everyone thought that Mayorkas would be impeached by a Republican majority in the House. And that vote went through committee, went through the rules, heated debates the whole time, the whole journey. It's been about an 8-month journey for this to happen. It finally went to the floor the other night, and, it failed. And I'm going to kind of give you my thoughts on that, but I know that you're out talking to viewers and friends and your circle of influence. What are you hearing on, is the base as angry as I think they are, that we could not even impeach the lowest hanging fruit of Mayorkas from Homeland Security?
100%. When you ask any American, any patriot who cares about our country, when we are in state after state after state all over the country, no matter if we're on the East Coast, West Coast, up north, or down south, everyone's main concern right now is illegal immigration. People are worried. They're mad. Millions have come across illegally since Biden has been in office, and people are scared. Who are these people? Where are they coming from? The drugs they're bringing in. They're saying that the cartel is now in control of our border, not America. And so whenever you have an administration who has failed Americans when it comes to border security, and the person who is one of the leads behind that can't get impeached, yes, people are very angry.
Yeah, they are angry. Okay, so this went through committee, Homeland Committee, passed with a vote. It was very heated. Went through the rules to make sure that everything was okay. Went to the floor. Now, Speaker Mike Johnson, in my opinion, he miscalculated the number of votes he had to pass this thing. Al Green, Representative Al Green of Texas, a Democrat, had been in the hospital for treatment. Steve Scalise, Republican from Louisiana, is battling cancer right now, so he had some cancer treatment, so he was out. Al Green was out, and I think Speaker Johnson we don't have a very large majority at all. It's very slim. We cannot afford to lose two people essentially on any vote, this vote or any other vote. Well, guess what? We lost three due to, we got McClintock, Ken Buck, you've got Mike Gallagher dropped out as well. Now, we did have one Republican. He made the fourth guy to vote no on it. That was only so it can get tabled to be put back on the floor for a vote. So that was kind of a false negative, if you will. So we don't want to make sure our viewers don't blow him up. But you take a look at Mike Gallagher, representative from Wisconsin, which I would love to go to his district right now and go ask the people of the great state of Wisconsin, how do you feel about Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas? And do you think he's done a credible job with handling the border? And I would guarantee you, out of 100 people, 100 of them would say absolutely not. He has failed at his job, and he needs to be impeached. But Mike Gallagher, the person that they've put in office to go to Congress and represent the people in Wisconsin, doesn't think so. He doesn't see it. And from my reports that I got on the floor that day, that night when this vote was going down, he was as very smug as possible. He's almost enjoyed the limelight of being the one that essentially kicked this thing off the floor and it eventually failed. So I'm hoping that the people of Wisconsin and his district light his phones up, call the local district, call his office in D.C. and ask, what in the hell are you doing? Because Ken Buck, he's not running for re-election. He's just going to burn it down on the way out. I just don't see where these people can do this. I don't know where their head is at on making these big decisions here.
I don't either. It's almost criminal disbelief that this is actually going on and you're okay with it. Who's okay with it? Why? What makes this okay? And you know who's really mad, Brian, when you asked me earlier, what are people saying? It's the people who came here legally. Mm-hmm. It's those people who are really mad that they came here to have a better life, to be a law-abiding citizen, to start a career here, live the American dream, start a business, support their family. And so they've done it all the legal way. And they're seeing all of these illegals come in and they're saying, where's the fairness? And so it always goes back to, I talk about this all the time when I don't understand how people vote in Congress. You are working for the people in your district. And if the people in your district want a closed border, why are you not fighting for that?
Well, they've all got some type of reason why they're not, though. It's not always political. I think there's some stuff that none of us can understand. We're glad you're joining us. We're outside the Trump Hotel. Let's get a nice little view of that on this beautiful, kind of cool, windy day here in Las Vegas. I mean, sometimes you think of this state as being one of these states that will absolutely burn you up on the temperature grades, but it looks at this point seem to be a nice day outside. Okay, so we've got that, but here's the good news on the impeachment process. Here is the good news, all right? This will be brought back to the floor, from what I'm hearing, on Tuesday, when we'll have Steve Scalise, God bless him, working on his cancer, trying to stay healthy for his family. That's first and foremost. He'll be back to vote, and hopefully we get everyone in full attendance. If we do that, this thing will pass, and Mayorkas will be impeached from the House. Now, it does go on to the Senate, and which at that point, who knows? And a lot of people say, Brian, why are they even wasting their time right now? Why even waste your time with Mayorkas? It's out of control. Even if you impeach, he's not ever going to be impeached because the Senate, it's just not going to go anywhere. Then I just say this. Well, then why do we even bother prosecuting shoplifters or anybody who steals a car? Because if just let them steal it. There's got to be accountability, and that's what the base wants right now, is accountability, especially after 2020. We feel like the Democrats, the left, things have been happening to this country, and there's been zero accountability for any of it. So I think it's just on a pure basis of principle. Someone must be held accountable for violating federal laws of immigration laws. And there's numerous of them that he has done that to.
Right. And, switching gears just a little bit here when you talk about, people being held accountable for shoplifting or stealing a car. If you look, though, Brian, here in 2024 in modern day America, that's not really the case anymore. People are committing crimes. Look what happened just in New York City, going back to illegal immigration. Illegal immigrants beat down New York City police officer. Where are they? They're on the run. Oh, we think they may be heading to California. We don't know who they are or where they're heading.
Caught two of them in Arizona, thank God. But they're going everywhere.
Yes, and so it's just more crime coming into our cities, our towns, our communities, your neighborhoods, and in some of these Democrat-run cities, they're not even getting a slap on the hand for all these crimes that they're committing. And so, if you're not doing it at the local level or the state level, and we're hoping that they're doing it on the federal level. I don't know, Brian. Our criminal justice system needs help, and it's very scary that this is where we are at right now.
It is scary, but you know what? This is one of the greatest ad campaigns that Republicans can run with, is this complete violation of the federal law for immigration, the complete failure to prosecute these criminals that have come in this country. And when you see cities like New York, and they're passing out debit cards basically to these illegals, and you've seen people like Chicago, the people in the inner cities are angry, Vanessa. They're angry what's going on. And I've seen more people in the inner cities on social media and just from talking to people that they're done with this weaponization of their local governments, bringing in these illegals and putting them there. I will say there's a lot of reports of them sleeping in airports and hotels. I know in DFW we have, it's almost like you might as well call the DFW airport a DFW hotel, because they're sleeping there as well. Chicago, they're sleeping anywhere they can put them. This is wrong. And you know what? This is one of the greatest campaign messages that Republicans can do. This is on Joe Biden's watch. He can do remain in Mexico right now. He doesn't need Congress to do anything. He can stop this right now and do an executive order and say, remain in Mexico. Do not come here. You will be sent back. He's not doing it. And that's what would stop it from immediately. Well, it would help stop it immediately.
And I'm glad you said that, because I think on, mainstream media, what you're seeing online, they don't really talk about that, but that is absolutely right. President Joe Biden can stop that today. He can sign that executive order, just take his pen, sign his name, and it's done. But he won't do it. They want this to happen. They are America last. They want this to happen, and it's clear as day. We do have live pictures coming to you from Mar-a-Lago as we wait President Trump holding a press conference today over the Supreme Court hearing that's currently taking place in the nation's capital over January 6th, and what's going on in Colorado, as the Colorado Supreme Court has ruled that President Trump will not be on the 2024 primary ballot. The Republican Party there in the state appealed that decision and is now being heard in the U.S. Supreme Court. So we're waiting to hear what comes out of that hearing, and then we're also waiting to hear from President Trump any minute now from Mar-a-Lago, and we're going to have that coverage for you.
Yeah, as soon as he steps out, we'll dip away from this and go straight to his coverage. But why this is so important is this could set precedents for additional states to do the same, and really just say, well, he's ineligible to serve for public office, and that would take him off of any situation. I was talking to a friend before we came on the air here, and he mentioned, could you imagine if they get away with this, what the American people will end up doing on November, on Election Day? And I think you'll have the biggest write-in candidate in American history, but then you got to go through the task of reading and recording the written-in Donald J. Trump for president. So it's a historic day. It hasn't been done. The Supreme Court has not looked at an election in 24 years. So this is very historic. And, but that's what you can expect. This is 2024, Vanessa. I mean, there's nothing is off the table for possibilities at all.
No, absolutely not. And Brian, it's kind of funny when 2024, when we rang in the new year at midnight, people are celebrating all over the world, and I just buckled up and I said, it's time to go on this crazy roller coaster ride. And it's only February, but so far that's exactly what it's been, a roller coaster ride, and we have several months to go. But I think that the American people are hopeful because they believe in Donald Trump. Donald Trump remains strong, and he keeps fighting because he has the backing of so many people in America, millions and millions of people, the MAGA movement. So they're both leaning on each other. And so no matter what happens, again, as we just saw here in Nevada 2 days ago during the primary, Donald Trump was not even on the primary ballot. He's on the caucus ballot today, but he was not on the primary ballot, and Nikki Haley still lost. People wrote in none of these candidates. And so that was a 60% to 30% win for any other candidate over Nikki Haley. And so I think you're right. People will write in Donald Trump's name regardless if he's on the ballot or not.
I think it's important to point out that the primary here in this state does not count for delegates. Okay, so the delegates are exclusive to the caucus. So that's the reason why President Trump was not in the primary. It is not needed. It is for grins and giggles. It is for social media. It is for basically the major news outlets to say Nikki Haley has won. It doesn't matter. It all goes in the caucus.
And they couldn't even say that. So it was almost embarrassing, really embarrassing for her 2 days ago on February 6th. Here we are, February 8th. This is when the 26 delegates, I believe, will be awarded to whoever wins tonight. We're almost seeing a Donald Trump landslide for tonight. And so we encourage everybody to go out and caucus. President Trump, again, we are waiting for him to hold a press conference on the Supreme Court hearing taking place right now. That's coming to you live from Mar-a-Lago. Then later tonight, he is coming to Nevada, where he will hold a watch party, a caucus night watch party. RSBN, Brian Glenn, and myself, we will be there giving you live coverage throughout the night as the polls close and results come in.
As results come in. Also, let's take a look at the head-to-head polling right now President Trump has with Joe Biden. And depending on what poll you look at, it is well into a double-digit lead that President Trump has over Joe Biden. And if you see anything that says that it's neck and neck or within an error of margin, a margin of error, I should say, that is wrong. There's absolutely, I'm looking for I'm looking for the percentage of people that think Joe Biden is the best choice on a head-to-head against President Trump. It doesn't exist. I think the media is trying to diminish the amount of a lead that President Trump has on Joe Biden on a head-to-head, because Americans are feeling it in the economy. They're not feeling safe, and we're a part of our nation's history right now where we've got more conflicts around the world. We haven't even talked about Ukraine. We haven't talked about what's going on in the Middle East, and none of this would have happened on President Trump's watch. We all know that. We didn't lose a single service member while he was in office in the Middle East. We didn't lose that. But already we have lost people in relation to the conflict right now going on. There's so much conflict around the world. People do not feel like Joe Biden has a clue about foreign policy.
Absolutely not. It's all Ukraine, and, America last with him. But, Brian, it goes further than that as well. I mean, there are so many issues we could talk about. We would be here all day, maybe for several days, if we went through everything that has gone wrong under the Biden administration. Another thing parents are concerned about, because I have a little one at home and he's going to be starting school in a couple of years, is what they're teaching kids in schools. And parents are concerned for when they drop their kids off in the morning. You think that they're going to be learning their ABCs and mathematics and science, and instead they're learning if little boys should be painting their fingernails pink or wearing dresses or red ribbons in their hair, or what bathrooms they're using, and if a little girl who's wanting to play basketball or volleyball, if a little boy is going to be participating against her and competing against her. I mean, it's very disgusting as a parent to know that this is where we have come. President Trump talks about it all the time when he's making a speech or at a rally, that he will change that when he is in office. And he says, I hate to even have to say this, but that's where we are right now. We have to talk about it, because it used to be adults. It used to be adults. Now they are affecting our children, and they're targeting our children. So not just, if little boys can, participate with little girls in school activities, but also what they're teaching them in their books. Brian, I won't call out the cartoon. I should, but I'm being nice today. Maybe not tonight, but I'm going to be nice this morning. There's a cartoon that I'm having to watch my child, and when that episode comes on, I have to flip the channel, because it's teaching my child that you can be anything you want to be. And if you look at what the little kid is doing, there are little boy toys and there's little girl dresses. So they're teaching children you can be whatever you want to be, and they're talking about transgender. Mm-hmm. This is a cartoon. So I watch for that every day to make sure when that little episode comes on, I flip it to the next episode so he doesn't see that and his little brain's not warped. Yeah. But this is where we are. Yeah, this is where we are. And what they've done is they try to make it seem like you're not tolerant if you don't allow this in your class, in your home, if you don't allow this mindset. And so they've kind of brought it in under these guidelines of blaming you if you don't buy into their, the religion of climatology, or the religion of gender transitioning surgeries. It's not a religion. It's a fake. It's false, and it's demonic, in my opinion, is what it is. So I just encourage everyone to be very bold on these issues. And there's two things, and I tell people when I see them in Congress and I see them along in D.C., out in the street, restaurants, whatever, we talk about the base, because I feel like right side, we know what the base thinks on everything. We know how the base feels on issues. And there's two things that gets the crowd more jacked up when President Trump talks about it. Number one is parents' rights. Parental rights. Says, I can't believe in 2024 I got to talk about parental rights. Number two is stop transitioning surgeries on minors, kids, double mastectomies, castration, puberty blockers, things like that on kids, protecting our kids from this demonic medical procedure. If you're 21 years old, you want to transition, God bless you, go ahead. Go ahead. But not on our kids. Those are two issues. So, in this election, that's what's on the table. If you feel like you're going to allow left-leaning transitioning surgery doctors and scholars, people in schools, to come in and convince your child that they're not the gender that they were given at birth or were born with, that they can transition. That's what's on the ballot here, and that is why
they've got President Trump locked up in legal court cases because the American people are for what President Trump stands for and what you and I stand for. They see it. So the only way they can stop him is tie him up in courts.
Right, and that's what they're doing now. That's what they're doing in the Supreme Court as we speak. So President Trump, instead of being here in Nevada right now this morning for the caucus, he is at Mar-a-Lago waiting to hold a press conference there. We will take that live when the president comes out. We do have live pictures to show you right now as we wait. But yes, again, instead of being here campaigning, he is at Mar-a-Lago watching what's going on in that hearing. And so it is election interference. The irony that hearing is being held on a caucus day. And that's
true.
Yes. And going to other court cases as well. They fall around Super Tuesday, where numerous states will be heading to their state caucus or primary. And so this is election interference. The American people aren't stupid. They are smart. And so they see what's happening and they want to put an end to it. And they're ready to get out and vote. They're ready to change what's happening in our country. And I'm getting word from back at the studio.
No,
still waiting
good.
on President Trump. But yes, this is all election interference. To sum it up, he should be here today. He should be here with the voters, the people who are going to caucus today, the caucus captains, the team, just having a good time as he does. When the people see him, they love him, they go crazy, and he loves meeting them. But instead, he's at Mar-a-Lago waiting to hold this press conference because he's held up in court.
Yeah, he's held up in court. And of course, if you look at all of the issues, America's behind him 100% on a lot of this stuff. So, but this does go back and show the example of why the people are so mad. The media has done a horrible job painting MAGA supporters, President Trump, as insurrectionists. They've labeled us as domestic terrorists. And that's what the left has done. And that's what the mainstream media has done. And the press conference the other day, we got Eli Crane, Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and others just lay it out and say they are tired of the lies from the media that has painted this picture that for whatever reason, if you support President Trump, you are a threat to democracy. But the very political power right now that is weaponizing the courts against a political opponent, the very party that is encouraging judges, Fani Willis, Alvin Bragg, and others, to throw the law, to weaponize the law against the president for various reasons. They're the ones that are actually a threat to democracy. President Trump, and if you look at the impeachment real quick, to kind of go back to Alejandro Mayorkas, people said, well, why is this taking so long? That was the number one question I got. Why can't they just do it? Why is it taking so long? Well, because we did it by the book. The Democrats did nothing by the book on impeaching President Trump twice. Now, I mean nothing. Nancy Pelosi, I'll give her this credit. Nancy Pelosi I'm going to give her some credit for a second. She knows how to get people to gather around and get on the same page. She threatens them for the most part. She threatens them. You're going to get on the right page or we're going to run you out of town. But she got everybody on the same page. They steamrolled those impeachments through, and they didn't properly go through the right channels. Okay, so they did a kind of a shortcut to get them done. Republicans did it the right way, through committees, through votes, through everything the proper channels. So Democrats don't necessarily play by the rules, and they never will, which brings me up to the election that I'm a little, as anyone should be, a little worried about this next upcoming election because due to the fact that we know what happened in 2020. So with that said, we must encourage people to go volunteer, get out, be poll watchers. I know Christina Bobb has always talked about that. She wrote a book about it, about getting out and really watching the polls and making sure that we don't have a water main break at 1:49 in the morning, that we don't all of a sudden need to cover up the plexiglass windows to where the poll watchers can see. We don't cover it up with boards. None of that goes down this next election. But guess what, Vanessa? That doesn't matter if President Trump's not on the ballot. And that's what today's Supreme Court hearing right now is about in Colorado. And it also can lead to other states as well. So that's why today is so historic. And I'm hoping that the Supreme Court gets it right on here and yields in the side of the law and facts and doesn't get caught up in the emotional garbage that the left tends to bring into these issues.
Right. We have to follow the law of the land. We are currently at 8:45, nearly 8:45 here in Nevada. Beautiful day, a little chilly with the wind blowing, but we are waiting President Trump to hold a press conference at Mar-a-Lago. If you're just now joining us, right now the Supreme Court is hearing a case dealing with Colorado and if President Trump should be on the ballot for the 2024 primary in that state. Each side, as Brian mentioned earlier, gets 30 minutes to present their case, and then we'll see. I don't know if a ruling will come down today or not. We don't know, but President Trump should be holding a press conference any moment now, live from Mar-a-Lago. We'll bring that to you when the president comes out to speak to the American people. And then from there, giving you a programming note, he is coming to Nevada, and he will have a caucus night watch party at Treasure Island Hotel and Casino. And RSBN, Brian, Glenn, and I will be there with live coverage for you this evening. So stick with Right Side Broadcasting Network here online, on air, and we'll bring you the very latest from the Supreme Court hearing, from President Trump, and also the Nevada caucus tonight, where 26 delegates are up for grabs. President Trump has won every single state so far. We're expecting him to win again tonight in a landslide. And then from here, Brian, when I leave here tomorrow, I'm heading straight to South Carolina for a rally on Saturday. So he'll focus his attention on South Carolina after Nevada tonight.
He's also going to the Great American Outdoors show there in Pennsylvania. Matthew Alvarez will have coverage for that. You know, what's interesting is last night I was in an elevator, and, you know, this is tourists, obviously. Everyone's from all over the country. An older couple, was from Northern California, and they asked why I was here, if I was here for the Super Bowl. And I said, no, I'm not here for the Super Bowl, even though I want the 49ers to win. I said, I'm not here for the Super Bowl. I'm here for President Trump. And I was waiting for the reaction because they told me they were from Northern California. They kind of fit the mold of this could be a very liberal older couple by the way they were dressed. And I've never seen such a reaction from the wife as I did at that moment. I said, I'm here for President Trump. And she said, I love President Trump, and just went off on why we need President Trump back in office. And God bless them, because they live in California, and Gavin Newsom and the taxes and the immigrants, and they did mention the immigration being a major problem. But well, you know, it's not so much surprising anymore to see people in New York, Chicago, LA, these big urban areas that have been so controlled by Democrats. And you would think historically everyone there is left-leaning. I think those days are gone. I think people are waking up. Even if you're a moderate Democrat, you're an independent. You see what's going on in this country, Vanessa, and people are angry at it, and they want change. And they see that President Trump has the policies to fix all the problems. He did it in 2016. The same agenda was laid out for 2020. We know how that went down. In 2024, he says, look, there's no magical plan to fix the problems. I have it already with Agenda 47.
Right. And, you know, we're here in Nevada, and we're on the state line with California. And so when we come to these events, to these rallies and speaking engagements for President Trump, we do see a lot of people from California who tell us, don't hold out on California. There are a lot of conservatives in the state. You just don't hear about us on the mainstream media. They're tired of Governor Newsom and his liberal ways and his liberal laws that he has in California. And, you know, people are moving from California. They tell me this. They're moving from California to Nevada, and there are small little mountain towns, beautiful towns, just on the state line, and they're moving there. So they're still close to either their job or their family across the state line, but they're actually moving to Nevada to be a resident here in this state. That's one. Two, if you look at, we could go on and on about Governor Newsom and his laws, but we've really been hitting on immigration because that's the number one concern of Americans right now. The latest, Brian, is that he's giving free health care to illegal immigrants. And so I'm sitting back home in Texas when this news comes in, and I'm thinking the cost of living in California is astronomical for rent. I have friends who there's 3 or 4 people in a studio apartment because the rent is so high. They're working 3 and 4 jobs. The gasoline's high, the food's high, everything. The cost of living is so high in California. And so you have these people who are working multiple jobs, living with other family members, so they can just survive, and getting health care through their full-time job to support their family. And Governor Newsom says, you know what, I don't care about my residents. I'm going to give free health care to these illegals coming in. And so people see that in California. They're tired of it. Governor Newsom just keeps getting worse and worse, in my opinion. And the people see it. And they're either waking up or they're moving out.
Yeah, and they're moving to Texas and moving to Florida as well. I mean, Texas has had its their issues the past couple of weeks with the federal government, the Biden administration, want to come down and come and take the barbed wire, if you will, and Texas officers keep putting the barbed wire back up. But this just plays out. This as this continues to happen, this only helps Republicans, because the Democrats, like I said at the top of the show, Joe Biden, if he wants to fix the immigration problem that we have right now that's out of control, I mean, completely out of control, you just do an executive order, remain in Mexico, go back to the Trump policies, go back to what he had in place, and then start finishing the construction of the wall and do that and actually bring people back. I mean, it's a slap in the face, and you said it earlier, for people who actually did it the legal way, to see people now, cutting in front of you. I always say this. Imagine going to the grocery store and the grocery line is like 30 people long, but all of a sudden someone with their cart just passes everybody up and just walks out of the store, doesn't wait in line, doesn't even pay it at that point. And you go, wait a minute, come back. Oh, no. We're going to go ahead and let them go. That's exactly what's happening on our border. We got people that are doing the legal way and that are spending thousands of dollars with legal attorney fees to get this done. It's taking years to do, which you can go back and we can debate. That probably does need to change. I think it takes too long to become a citizen here, because I've met people that had come here from other countries that took 10 years to become a citizen. It takes too long. But there is a process, and you got to follow the process, and these people are simply not doing it.
They're not. And looking at what's going on in Texas, look at the support that Governor Abbott and the state has received from across America in the last couple of weeks, and also from governors all over the country. Governor Kristi Noem visited the border. Brian, you even had Dr. Phil visit the border. Elon Musk has visited the border. So all of these people have visited the border. They're concerned about what's going on, but our own administration they don't seem too concerned about what's going on. And then you look at the White House press secretary who says, we have a secure border. We're doing everything we can, but can't say how. And, this is a funny idea that I've seen floated around, and some people see it as, a joke, but I think that it would be, also IFB, live TV. Some people see it as a joke, but I think it would be a great idea that a moat with alligators.
Yeah,
bring some of those alligators in. Nobody will cross then.
That was Garcia from California, I believe, had this poster board. And if you haven't seen it, you can go online and search it. It's interesting because they were saying, like, President Trump has an electrical fence. He has snipers. He has helicopters. There's an IFB on the ground. We can pick that up for us. That's right. Let's live television. There you go. But it was a joke. But then the base said, well, why not on this stuff? Well, why not implement some of these things that are going on? And jokingly in a way. But, we must take drastic measures to correct the problem that we have on the border. It's the number one issue in this country. It is the number one issue. Number 2 would be the economy. And number 3 would be what's going on in the world. We are simply broke for Ukraine. Money. We don't need to send a conveyor belt of money to Ukraine, an endless conveyor belt of money. I think we're sending in the neighborhood of $223 million a day goes to Vladimir Zelensky so that he can, fight the insurgents of the Russian troops, which, by the way, I had a chance to see these Ukrainian soldiers parade themselves around the Capitol, basically begging for money. A few months ago, it was almost a joke, and they stop into congressional offices and they would say, thank you for your support, thank you for your money. And we're like, well, if the American people were here, they would probably say, well, I don't want to give you my money. I can support you, but I don't want to give you my money. But that's where we're at here. So the funding of Ukraine is a big deal. And President Trump has laid out his agenda. He can solve this conflict very easily. How come no one's talking about peace, Vanessa? How come no one's talking about ending this war in Ukraine through a peace deal instead of it almost seems like a real estate transaction? Let's just scrape the landscape of Ukraine, where you have to rebuild it anyway. So think about this for a second. If we've given billions to Ukraine to fight the war, how much money do you have to give Ukraine to rebuild their country? Imagine what it's going to cost to rebuild a country. And that's what we're getting ourselves into, very much like we did with Afghanistan. So this is right into the military industrial complex. This is what they want. Always have a war, always have a conflict going on, always have a conveyor belt of your money going overseas somewhere else. So I had this conversation the other day, Vanessa. When I say America first, I mean America first across the board. Do I want to give money to Israel? Very sensitive topic right now, by the way. They just voted on it last 2 days ago, and it failed. Money to Israel. Do we support Israel in their fight against Gaza and Hamas, fight against the Palestinians and Hamas? Of course we do. Okay, it's biblical. Of course we do. Okay, but we are in a fiscal situation right now where we just can't afford to give every country in the world that has a conflict our money. I'll give you a stat real quickly. Israel spends approximately $15 billion on their war a year. We were going to give them $17 billion. We were going to give them more money than they spend on their war. And let me tell you something. When you give somebody money to fight a war, I can promise you it comes with strings attached. It's going to come with the Biden administration is going to tell you how to fight that war, and they're going to put restrictions on how you can handle combat. So that's why I was not for us giving money to Israel to fight this conflict. They are winning already. They don't necessarily need our help. They don't need our money. But we want to get in everybody's business so that we can have everybody with strings attached. So when I say America first, Vanessa, I'm telling you, bring them all home. Bring all of our troops away from these foreign countries and cut this foreign aid off and protect our country and not protect somebody else's border like we're doing in Ukraine. So I just got off my soapbox here for a second.
You're absolutely right. We're not everyone's bank account, and so we just can't have this continuous flow of money going out to other countries. If we do have any money, we need to protect our own country and, again, start at the border. Okay, we are nearing the top of the hour. We want to thank Birch Gold Group. As the economy continues to suffer, Americans are suffering. You can't go wrong with the Birch Gold Group. Text the word Trump to 989898. Group of wonderful people. A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Start saving for the future. If you're like so many Americans, millions of Americans who can't save a dime right now, well, the Birch Gold Group can help you with just that for yourself, for your family, for your children. So very easy to do. Text the word Trump to 989898. You will get a free information kit. Can't go wrong with free information kit, and they'll come up with a plan that's perfect for you and how you can save for your future. That's the Birch Gold Group. Text the word Trump to 989898 as we continue to wait for President Trump to come out of Mar-a-Lago to hold a press conference.
Yeah, he's going to have a few remarks on what is going on there in D.C. Now, I will say we had Marsha Blackburn and Coach Tommy Tuberville. Both were out in front of the Supreme Court earlier today to give their comments on what was going on. I saw some people online criticizing why weren't other GOP members, either House or Senate, there supporting the president. And I've just got to say, well, for one thing, Congress is not in session right now. They left yesterday. So a lot of those people are back in their districts, working in their districts. So, but the ones that are in town, by all means, they should go out in front of the Supreme Court and support the president. But more importantly, they should get online and get on social media and vocalize your support for the president and against this weaponization of our court system against a political opponent. And that's exactly what this is boiled down to. I mean, you want to talk about it, you peel back the layers here of the onion, Vanessa, and this is nothing more than, if I can't beat my opponent, I'll just try to jail my opponent. They tried that. His poll numbers went up. His fundraising went up as well. Now I would just try to take my opponent off the ballot. Let's see if that works. Well, I don't think it's going to work. I don't think it's legal. I don't think it's going to work in this instance, but that's what they're trying to do.
Yes, every day I think, okay, what are they going to come up with next? Brian, it's almost like they sit around a table at night thinking of different ways to keep President Trump from being on the ballot. Nothing has worked so far. Every time they attack him, his poll numbers do go up. So interesting to see what will happen coming out of this Supreme Court hearing. Okay, we're at the top of the hour. I'm hearing back from the studio that we have a commercial break. So we're going to toss to that commercial break, and we'll be right back here live from Las Vegas, Nevada, reporting to you from outside Trump Hotel.
What's up, guys? My name is Jaden Hurd, and I have a Christian show called Let It Be Heard, where we analyze culture and current events from a biblical perspective. I highly recommend you guys check us out. We now have episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And basically, what happens is we react to videos, we have talking points, we have on guests, and it's very exciting. Come check us out on Rumble on the RSBN channel. God bless you guys.
Welcome to the Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're not like the other media outlets out there that cut and edit what other people say. In 2015, we were created by our founder, Joe Seals, to cover President Donald J. Trump's speeches and rallies, to which we continue to do to this day. We've also covered important conservative events like CPAC, TPUSA, March for Life, and many other important events and hearings around the country. We were made for people like you, everyday Americans who are tired of the mainstream media, who are tired of being lied to, manipulated, and fed an agenda. Our goal here at Right Side Broadcasting is to allow you to see the truth, giving our correspondents and commentators a wide latitude to speak their minds. You won't find anything like this in the mainstream media. Your support through your donations, locals, and supporting our advertisers allows us to continue to cover important events around the country each and every day. So, from us here at Right Side Broadcasting, thank you for supporting us and the right side of history.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm here to tell you about my new product from MyPillow, towels that actually work. Watch this absorbency test. Here's another towel that we randomly went out and bought. Here's one of my towels with the nice design. I don't know if you can see this, but you could line a swimming pool with this. I mean, this is crazy. Get rid of it. Towels that actually work. What a concept. I'm interrupting this commercial to let you know you can get our 6-piece My Towels, regular $69.98, now only $29.98. Or you can save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels, made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Also, we have bath sheets, bath towels, washcloths, hand towels, and so much more. And the best part, with your promo code, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all My Towels. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
All right, Vanessa Broussard, Brian Glenn, we're back out here live in Las Vegas in front of the Trump Hotel. Let's just pan it over real quickly, Gage. Take a look at the hotel. What a beautiful facility here in Las Vegas. And, of course, we have been given the privilege, I guess, to stand out here and give this pre-show as we wait for President Trump to speak there at Mar-a-Lago in regards to the Supreme Court hearing that's going on right now in regards to being removed from the ballot there in Colorado. Everyone's talking about it. This is a historic thing. It just has not done, well, the Supreme Court hasn't looked at the elections and had a review of anything since 2000, so 24 years since they've done that last. But you know what? It's 2024. There's nothing off the table what they'll try to do to remove this man from office.
Right, and I hope the Supreme Court goes by the law of the land. If you're looking at the 14th Amendment, Section 3, which they are looking at today, it clearly states no person shall be president if engaged in insurrection. So they're looking at what happened on January 6th in Washington, D.C., and the left claiming that President Trump incited violence when he clearly stated, go in peace, walk in peace, march in peace. And so that has been recorded. It has been played over and over again. That word peace should save President Trump from any insurrection, indictment, charge, whatever the case may be. And so that's what they're looking at right now, is that wording in Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. And if you look at what insurrection is, it's a violent uprising against an authority or government. And so that did not happen coming from President Trump when he clearly stated walk in peace. He put it out on Twitter at the time, now X, but at the time it was Twitter, calling for peaceful protest or peaceful marching. And so again, this is just another attempt by the left to blame whatever they feel happened on that day on Donald Trump, as they typically do, and try to keep him off the ballot. And so now the Colorado Supreme Court ruled that President Trump should not be on the ballot there in the state. The Republican Party of Colorado appealed that to the U.S. Supreme Court, and that's where that hearing is taking place today. So we're waiting on those arguments to be heard with the Supreme Court taking place at this hour, and then we'll hear from President Trump live from Mar-a-Lago. We are waiting for him to come out any moment now.
It's interesting that no one associated with January 6th has been charged with, quote, insurrection. None of them. Thousands arrested, and they seem to arrest people every single day. But no one is charged with insurrection, but yet they want to claim the president incited insurrection on that day. And if you remember, Vanessa, the Democrats, the left-leaning media, even picture film companies did a great job on this January 6th committee where they laid it out. It looked like the Grammy Awards, if you will, and had all this video evidence. And it was all actually was produced by a Hollywood company to make it look made for television special for January 6th. And they were going to convince the American people that the insurrection on that day was the greatest threat to democracy, and that Republicans, MAGA Republicans, are responsible for it. Well, guess what? They did the sham J6 committee. The American people didn't buy that line of garbage, and now we're back to where we are today. But guess what? For whatever reason, some of the evidence that they had for the January 6th is gone. They deleted it. So the J6 Commission mistakenly or willingly or knowingly deleted a lot of the evidence they had to prove their case, because once other evidence came out, it disproved what they claimed was factual evidence to prove that J6 was, in fact, an insurrection. So I think it's really interesting. If you've got one of the biggest news stories of our country in history, then why would you delete or lose evidence that supports that narrative? They know they're wrong. They lied, and they're being it's being proven almost on a weekly basis with additional information that comes out from the real January 6 tapes.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, while you were talking about that, Brian, I just keep thinking nothing in America seems fair right now. How is it fair that these tapes mysteriously disappeared or were deleted? They should be held accountable for that, but they won't be. President Trump would be. President Trump's team would be. His children would be. Look at Hunter Biden and what all he's done. If that were Eric or Don Jr., they would be held accountable. But just for some reason, the left is not held accountable for anything. And so it's just unfair where our country is headed and what's going on right now with the left getting away with everything, and then them making up laws and accusations against President Trump and conservatives. We are hearing right now, going back to the courtroom, that the prosecution has ended its case and the defense has just started. So it's going a little longer than expected. Yes, we were initially told each side would get 30 minutes, but well over an hour for the prosecution. We're only assuming the defense, hoping the defense gets the same allotted time for their case. So
isn't that interesting, though? Because I dropped in on it before we came on, and it did seem like it was going over. And I was thinking, okay, when are they going to wrap up each side? But you know what? They can do whatever they want because, well, they have it out. I think they have it out for President Trump. That's interesting you point that out. So you just got word that okay. We'll see how long it's going to take to get this done. So maybe President Trump is waiting for the defense to pretty much take its stand and out. But you know, it seems like the American people, no matter what they rule today. I mean, yes, granted, is Colorado a red state? No, it's not. It's a blue state. So it's not necessarily in any chance. You're not losing delegates that you might need from that state, right? Because you're not going to win that state. But that this does bleed over to other states that they could possibly try this in. If you look at Georgia, for instance, Georgia is a Republican state, but it does have quite a bit of Democrat influence on it, and it would be called a purple state in a way. But and that's in the inner cities. You've got basically, if you look at every state and you look at the cities, the highest population areas, they do tend to be more Democrat than Republican. But this is a big decision today because they could absolutely weaponize this towards the president and try to remove him from the ballot, which we said this earlier. What are the reason would Nikki Haley stay in this presidential race, knowing she's getting crushed? Got crushed by nobody in this state. Got crushed in New Hampshire. Got crushed in Iowa. And the polls are not looking good for South Carolina. So my theory is, Vanessa, I think she's in this thing to wait out the courts to see what the courts say. Because if the courts say, you know what, President Trump can't be on the ballot, he can't serve for public office, and that opens up the opportunity for her and many others, even though they've already dropped out for the most part, to step in and go, okay, I'm the presumptive nominee.
I agree with you, and I thought about that weeks and months ago when you had other candidates still in the race for in the Republican primary. Why are they still here? They're losing in the states, they're losing in the polls, but when you have Governor DeSantis, he did drop out and he did endorse President Trump, but I think there is that lone candidate, Nikki Haley, who is still in the race because she is hopeful that the courts will rule against President Trump and that she will be the presumptive nominee. So she's not winning in the states. She's not winning in the polls. The American people have made their voice loud and clear who they want to be the Republican nominee come November, and she's sticking around hoping that she's probably watching closely today, for example, what's going on in the Supreme Court, hoping that they rule against President Trump so she can slide right on in.
Yeah, that's really been my theory from day one, because and also they're surrounded by political consultants, people that are fundraising, which, by the way, the longer she stays in this and the donor class continues to donate to her consultants make money, her fundraising people make money. So they're in it for money. They're going to ride that horse down the track, and when it's no longer able to move, they'll jump off that horse, and that horse will die, because that's what they do in politics. That's why they've ruined Ron DeSantis' political career amongst the base. Now, if he would not have run for president, he would have been, without a doubt, the next person in line to take this Make America Great Again agenda, this America First agenda that was created by President Trump. He would be the presumptive nominee. I would think there's a few others that would probably go in there. But because he chose to kind of step over and say, you know what, I think I have a better plan than President Trump, even though if it wasn't for President Trump, Ron DeSantis would not have been governor and wouldn't have gotten reelected as well. And by the way, Ron DeSantis is the best governor in this country. Let's not discredit that at all. He's an amazing governor. But it now was not his time. And I think if he would have waited and would not have stepped in this race, it would have been a red carpet for 2028, and I think everyone knows that. I think he can come back and get the respect of the base? Vanessa, I don't know. I mean, you and I think you and I have a pretty good pulse on how the base feels about stuff. It's going to be tough. It's going to be real tough to get him the credibility back amongst the base.
Well, he did save face when he endorsed President Trump.
But he had to. He
had to for a political move. He had to. And so to save his career, to save his future as a governor or whatever his plans are for the future, yes, absolutely, he had to. But I question that as well. He was a shoo-in for 2028. Easily, it would have been handed to him on a silver platter if he would not have run for 2024. However, since that did happen and he made a lot of MAGA people mad, yes, he's a wonderful governor, but is he presidential material? The American people may forget. They may not forget. I think if he were to run again, Brian, he'd have to do some really soul searching when it comes to President Trump and mending their relationship, their friendship. He turned his back. President Trump talks about that all the time. He betrayed him in a way, turned his back on him. President Trump clearly helped him get elected, endorsed him for governor in Florida when Governor DeSantis was down in the polls.
Yeah, remember that. He often says that. He was in third place.
Yes, and President Trump endorsed him, and then his poll number skyrocketed, and he won. And so then what does he do? He comes and he runs against President Trump. So President Trump talks about that often, how he turned his back on the president. So I think if they mended their relationship, talked about their relationship, because, look, President Trump is all about faithfulness and not turning against. Don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly what he did.
Yes, and that's what he did. So I think if he were to run again, he needs to make it known, especially to the MAGA movement, that he and Trump are on the same page again, and we're fighting for a conservative America that we know and love, that our grandparents grew up in.
Yeah, I just got a text from a buddy of mine. He said, Ron DeSantis is a terrible governor. And I think I want to point out, though, and this person lives in Florida. If you don't live in Florida, you're told by the media, from Fox News and other outlets, what a great job he's doing. So he brought up a good point. If I'm not in Florida and I don't directly see the results of a Ron DeSantis state and the way he governs a state, then I'm not fully informed on how good he is. So he brings up a great point. I appreciate him dropping me a line on that, because, one might think that, you can. I give you a great example. There's people that live in California that think Gavin Newsom's a great governor. And you go, wait a minute. I've seen, I can see the policies coming out of that state. But then some people, it depends on how you think about your approach to politics. They think he's a great governor. There's Republicans that think that Ron DeSantis is a great governor. And I think that I might have been a little bit naive to think that he's as good as the media would say that he's doing a great job. And people, that the base would say, oh, he's doing a great job and he's just staying in Florida. So I appreciate him dropping that in there, because unless you live in Florida and you live in, Texas or any one of these states, you don't really know how well your governor is actually performing, because you're not on the ground in that state. So there you go. I'm glad he brought that up. All right. So we're waiting for President Trump to give a few remarks for Mar-a-Lago. You probably got a live look there. I don't know if you have that double box. If so, we've got a live look from Mar-a-Lago there. Also, the arguments, discussion is still going on in the Supreme Court right now. We have that audio stream available as well that you can check out and listen in on that. It's always interesting to listen in on these oral arguments. You've got the marble floors of the Supreme Court, the way the sound echoes amongst the chamber there. It is such a good listen to hear those 9 Supreme Court justices and both sides discuss these issues out in the open like they do. It's amazing. That's what makes this country great, is that we have the ability to have this discussion in this kind of form and let the American people listen in on it and be a part of it. So it's it's a great opportunity that we're at least being able to cover this today. But we're very thankful. The Trump team. Let's step aside. I know, Gage, we always like to pan the crowd, but let's pan the hotel real quick. Beautiful hotel. I've stayed here several times. I got to say, it fits well into the Trump brand, Vanessa. When you think Trump, you think absolute class, style, professionalism, the best of the best, and that's exactly what this Trump hotel is here. I love the fact that it does not have a casino. You cannot gamble in this hotel. You can just enjoy the pool, the nice rooms, and the great restaurant that they have that you had a chance to eat there not too long ago.
Yeah, delicious food. Anytime you go to a Trump hotel, a Trump property, expect 5-star everything from the rooms to the staff to the food. Brian, when I ate here the last time I was in Vegas, I had an appetizer, my entree, and I was so full. But I had to have dessert. And I had dessert. They literally had to roll me out of here. I ate so much. But it was just mouth-watering. So delicious. But yes, everything Trump-related, 5-star, highly recommend. I'm hearing that we do have some footage from the hearing, if we want to take that right now. Some live footage from the hearing taking place at the Supreme Court.
Yeah, let's go ahead and listen in on what's going on right now. The Supreme Court will provide that live look for Mar-a-Lago as well. So we'll drop back in here, but take a listen.
Dramatic consequences that would follow from a decision of this court that rejects the rationale of Griffin's case and that also agrees with Mr. Murray's contentions that President Trump is disqualified from holding office on account of the events of January 6th and that he's covered by Section 3 as an officer of the United States. This court's recent decisions in Lucia and Arthrex held that officers who were unconstitutionally appointed under Article 2 and that made decisions under the APA that were attacked as invalid, those decisions were still vacated, and this court did not use any variant of the de facto officer doctrine to salvage the decisions that were made by these unconstitutionally appointed officers. There is no way to escape the conclusion that if this court rejects Griffin's case and also agrees with Mr. Murray's construction of Section 3, that every executive action taken by the Trump administration during its last 2 weeks in office is vulnerable to attack under the APA, and further, that if President Trump is reelected and sworn in as the next president, that any executive action that he takes could be attacked in federal court by anyone who continues to believe that President Trump is barred from office under Section 3. I'm happy to answer any other questions that the court may have.
Thank you, counsel.
Thank you.
The case is submitted.
The Honorable Court is now adjourned until Friday, the 16th of February at 10 o'clock.
Including there at the Supreme Court. So I would think at any moment we could see President Trump giving his remarks from Mar-a-Lago since the conclusion of that.
Right. We have been waiting to hear from President Trump. If you're just now joining us, it's a busy day, not just in the Supreme Court, but also here in Nevada. It is the day that the people and the residents here will caucus. So President Trump will speak soon at Mar-a-Lago. We will take live coverage from there, waiting on him to come out and hold a press conference. And from there, he is flying here to Nevada, Las Vegas, where he'll hold a Trump team watch party of sorts tonight as the caucus results come in at Treasure Island, which is about a block or two away from Trump Hotel. So busy day for President Trump, eager to see what he has to say momentarily from Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, he's all over the place. I had a conversation with a friend last night about just how much President Trump travels, and I've seen him go from West Palm Beach up to New Hampshire, back out to Las Vegas had a UFC fight at the conclusion of that. He's everywhere. The stamina is up to there. It's the highest you can get. And you compare that to what we're getting from Joe Biden, which he often loves to use the example. He can't even find his way off a stage. So anyway, President Trump will be here later today. And of course, Iowa will caucus today. And the primary was 2 days ago. The primary was February 6th. It was a worthless primary. It absolutely does nothing. You get no delegates from it. You get a little bit of social media, a little bit of a news hit if you were to win the primary, which Nikki Haley did not even do. None of the candidates actually got more write-in votes than she did. So the delegates are awarded to the caucus. So we'll see exactly how that plays out tonight. 5 to 7:30, from what I've been told, is when the caucus is held in this state.
Yes, and so eager to see what happens here. So far, a landslide victory. What is he, 4-0 now already in wins? And so we're expecting a landslide victory tonight. And then we have the South Carolina primary coming up. Then we have Super Tuesday coming up. So some big voting happening in key states. When you look at the states, Brian, that are voting in the Super Tuesday, March 5th primaries, he's up in all the polls by double digits, well into the double digits against Nikki Haley. But we have been mentioning this all day today, that the only reason we can think of that Nikki Haley is still in this race, two reasons. She's waiting to see what her home state of South Carolina does, where she is down in the polls by double digits against President Donald Trump. And also, number two, is that she's waiting to see what's going on in all of these court cases, including the one today with the Supreme Court, and if President Trump will be kept off the ballot in states like Colorado. So she's hoping to be a slide in when it comes to being the Republican nominee in the primary in November. And so we'll see what happens. But we can only hope that the Supreme Court votes going by the law of the land and not going by a political basis, and voting the right way. So we're hoping that they go by the Constitution, the 14th Amendment, and abide by that. And again, we're waiting to see what President Trump has to say after hearing those oral arguments this morning.
And I love looking at the head-to-head national polls with Biden versus Trump. And Trump is beating Biden by double digits. And it really depends on what poll you look at. But if I was to go by the poll of what I see of the American people showing up at events and showing support, President Biden was here last week from what I was told last night, and there was more Trump flags and Trump supporters lining the streets as he made his way to the speech. That's all the polling I need to see. And I know exactly from the Trump side just how many people show up to these events. If you look back in 2020, Vanessa, Joe Biden was in, gymnasiums and middle schools and hula hoops having his little rallies. And of course, President Trump was, selling out arenas and having 20, 30, 40,000 people would show up for a speech. That's the only poll I need to see. And so when we move our way to Election Day, I think I cannot stress enough the need to get out and flood the polls on Election Day. Flood the polls.
Yes, and I'm sorry, I have a Make America Great Again supporter walking behind us here at Trump Hotel. But yes, flood the polls. President Trump talks about that all the time in his rallies, in his speeches. He says, pretend that we are down in the polls, show up in numbers. And the reason is it avoids any potential for cheating. Also, if you look at what happened in states like Iowa and New Hampshire, what's happening is these Democrats are registering as Republicans and voting for Nikki Haley by the thousands. Okay, so they're going in, registering from Democrat to Republican, voting, and then voting for Nikki Haley, hoping that they'll have enough votes for Nikki Haley that it will top President Trump. So President Trump supporters need to be dominant. They need to dominate and show up in huge numbers to avoid things like this from happening.
Yeah, you just got to flood the polls and make the numbers almost irreversible. It's indecisive. I mean, it's conclusion of who would win this thing. That's what needs to happen. Now, will we see historic turnout? I think we will, because I think by the time we get to Election Day, these problems that we have right now will just get worse. The border, Joe Biden has the ability to fix the border with an executive order. He has not done that. Congress, in the Senate, and you got one of the strongest border packages in history. But when you keep watering it down with additional funding to Ukraine, I don't know where the border package and supporting America first has anything to do with money going to Ukraine. But apparently that's what they do in Washington. They kind of make this little cake. They put all these ingredients in this cake and they bake it as one when it's two separate issues. But that's what's happening. But Joe Biden can stop this invasion right now if he wants to. But he's not, because this is what they want, Vanessa. They want more and more people in this country. Now, I'll say this, and I've said this from the very beginning. Where are these people going? Where are they living? There's no way we're letting 3 million plus people in the last, basically a couple years illegally in the gotaways that are in this country. Where are they living? Well, I tell you, they're living on the streets, and they're living in public, government-funded.
Just finished watching the Supreme Court. It was a beautiful thing to watch in many respects. It's unfortunate that we have to go through a thing like that. I consider it to be more election interference by the Democrats. That's what they're doing. The good news is we're leading virtually every poll. We're leading I don't even know if we have anymore. I'm not sure that we even have a Republican candidate, somebody running, but not making any impact. So as you know, we won Iowa, we won New Hampshire in records, and each won a record. We think we're going to do very well. I'm heading out right now to Nevada for the caucus and the caucuses, and I think we're going to do very well there. All the polls indicate we're in the 90s. Maybe more than the 90s. We certainly did well in a primary that didn't matter, where they voted very nicely. And we have tremendous support from the people of our country. They hate what's happening at the border. They hate what's happening just generally. We're not a respected country anymore. We're laughed at all over the world. They're laughing at us. And they hate what's happening. They hate seeing it. They love our country. They want it to come back. And we're going to do that. If you think about it, had the results of the election been different, that would be nice. You wouldn't have the Ukrainian situation with Russia. You would not have had an attack on Israel, which was so horrible. You would not have had inflation. You wouldn't have China talking about Taiwan. You wouldn't have any of the problems that we have today. And you certainly had a broke Iran, and now you have a very rich Iran. Iran was broke when I left. They had no money to give to Hamas. They had no money to give to Hezbollah. And now they have 200 billion. Plus, as you probably know, people don't like to admit it, they certainly control Iraq. And Iraq has another 300 billion. So you have a very rich group of countries. And as you know, Iraq should have never happened. That was a balance against Iran, and we blew out the balance, and now Iran has essentially Iraq. And Iraq doesn't like saying that, but that's the way it is, and it's a shame. The world is in tremendous danger. We're in danger of possibly a World War III, and we have a man who's absolutely the worst president in the history of our country. Can't put two sentences together. He's not going to be able to negotiate with Putin or Xi or Kim Jong-un, North Korea. Not going to be able to negotiate with anybody. All he knows how to do is drop bombs all over the place, meaningless bombs, except they kill a lot of people. It costs a lot of money. Every time you see a bomb, it's another $1 million, and it actually sets us back. We have peace through strength. This should not be happening. The Middle East is blowing up. It's blowing up, and a lot of people are being killed, and it's so unnecessary. So I just say that in watching the Supreme Court today, I thought it's a very beautiful process. I hope that democracy in this country will continue, because right now we have a very, very tough situation with all of the radical left ideas with the weaponization of politics. They weaponize it like it's never been weaponized before. It's totally illegal, but they do it anyway. And it has to stop. Every one of the court cases that I'm involved, every single one, civil, whether it's the attorney generals or the district attorneys. You look at Fani in Georgia. They had many meetings with the White House and with the DOJ. They went there, 8-hour meetings. That was all staged. That was a phony hoax. And now you look at it and it is a phony hoax. And hopefully that case will be dismissed in short order. It's a disgrace to this country. But they work together with the Justice Department and the White House. And not supposed to do that. Every one of these cases you see comes out of the White House. It comes out of Biden. It's election interference, and it's really very sad. I thought the presentation today was a very good one. I think it was well received. I hope it was well received. You have millions of people that are out there wanting to vote, and they happen to want to vote for me or the Republican Party or whatever you want to, however you want to phrase it. But I'm the one running, and we are leading in every poll. We're leading in the local polls, in the state polls, and we're leading in the swing state polls, and we're leading very big in the national polls. So it's been a very great honor. We love the country. I think the reason we have such big leads, frankly, is that they loved 4 years of us compared to the 3 years plus, the 3 years that they've gone with Biden, where you have open borders, you have crime. Nobody's ever seen crime like this, what's happening. And now the crime is being committed, much of it by the migrants that have come in illegally to our country. I was wondering about that. I said, you know, a lot of these people come out of jails, they come out of mental institutions, they come out of places that you don't want to know about. We don't even know where they come from. We don't know who they are, where they are. They're being dumped in from mental institutions, from prisons and jails. And many terrorists are coming into our country. We're going to be paying a big price. They have to stop it. They have to close the border. By the way, the president can do it just by saying, I want the border closed. I closed the border. We had the safest border in the history of our country. Now we have the most unsafe border in the history of the world. There's never been a country with a border like this, not even a third world country. So we are, again, we're going out to Nevada right now. We'll be out there. Some of you are going to be out there with us. Otherwise, your colleagues will be. And hopefully we're going to have a big night, caucus tonight. We're going to have a very big night. We expect to have a very big night. The Virgin Islands, as you know, are also very much in play today, so we'll be hearing about them sometime during the day or later on in the evening. And it's an honor to have you at Mar-a-Lago. I hope you like it. It's worth a little more than $18 million. There's another case. He says it's worth $18 million. I said, which cabin are we talking about? But that's the kind of justice we have. When they say that to try and build up a case, that was a shame. But that gave up so much. When they said that gave up so much. That Mar-a-Lago's worth $18 million. They had it appraised for, as you know, 50 to 100 times that amount. But we have a judge that's what he said. And he's supposed to be ruling on me. But who knows? Maybe he'll be fair. I doubt it, but maybe he'll be fair. So I want to thank everybody. And by the way, we proved that case 100%, 5 times over. That case is 100% proven, 5 times over. We've never seen anything like it. He just wouldn't dismiss it, no matter what. Shouldn't be there. It should have been in the commercial division. Anyway, it's an honor to have you. I look forward to having you again, and I'll probably see you out in Nevada. Thank you very much.
The U.S. Supreme Court is said to be broadly skeptical in early reporting about the effort to try and kick you off the ballot. Having said that, though, speak to the argument, legal and otherwise, that your detractors have made leading up to the day. And it's an argument that was given voice by Mitch McConnell, the Senate Republican leader, not long ago.
All right, I got the gist.
There's no question
Yeah, I got the
that
gist.
President Trump is practically and morally responsible for provoking the events of the day.
He doesn't say that anymore. So let me just tell you that I heard and I watched. And the one thing I'll say is they kept saying about what I said right after the insurrection. Because I think it was an insurrection caused by Nancy Pelosi. This was an insurrection, if it was an insurrection, which there were no guns, there were no anything except for the fact that they shot Ashley Babbitt. Somebody from the police force shot Ashley Babbitt. So unnecessary, so sad, so horrible. But there were no guns, there were no anything. But if you take a look at my words, right after, you take a look at my speech from the Rose Garden, which was very shortly after, or you take a look at I'm only on Truth now, but at that time we were tweeting and I was on Twitter. If you take a look at those 5 or 6 tweets, you will see very beautiful, very heartwarming statements. Go home, the police are doing their job, etc., etc. Beautiful statements. If you see my statement made in the Rose Garden, I think you have to watch that, because today they said the words of Trump. Now, if you take a look at the words of Democrats over the last period of time, look at Schumer's statement about the Supreme Court on the steps of the Supreme Court. He sounded like a mob boss. Take a look at any of them. Take a look at any. We put together a tape of vicious, violent statements made by Democrats. Nobody brings that up. Take a look at Maxine Waters and the vicious statements that she made. I didn't do that. I said peacefully and patriotically. The speech was called Peacefully and Patriotically. It's peacefully and patriotically. He said I said bad statement. It was the exact opposite. So I think you should take a look at the statements that I made before and after, and you'll see a whole different dialogue.
Mr. President, you just mentioned Chinese President Xi. You said that you were going to impose 60% tariffs should you get back in office. Can you explain your rationale there?
We want to bring business back to the U.S. They're stealing our business. They're taking our business at levels that nobody's ever seen before. By doing that, we bring business back, manufacturing back to the United States, which I was doing. I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. No president had ever taken in 10 cents, not 10 cents. I took in hundreds of billions of dollars, and jobs were coming back. I was saving steel companies. Now they're blowing it. When I see U.S. steel being bought by Japan, what a sad thing that is to me. What a sad thing that is. So we want to bring jobs back. Very simple. Thank you.
Mr. President, do you still have confidence in Speaker Johnson after the failed Mayorkas impeachment effort?
I do have confidence in him, yeah. I very much do. I think he's a very good man, and I have great confidence in him.
Why is Nikki Haley still in the race when you're dominating in the polls?
Oh, I love that question. Thank you very much. You just said it. I don't know why she continues, but let her continue. We have a big one coming up, as you know, in South Carolina. And the polls are indicating that we're through the roof on that one. We're leading by, I guess, 35%, 35 points. So I don't know. I think she hurts herself, but I think she hurts the party and in a way hurts the country. But it seems to be dying. She did poorly in Iowa. She did very poorly in Iowa, actually. She came in 3rd place. Ron DeSantis beat her, although you wouldn't know that if you listened to her speech. She did poorly in New Hampshire. She did poorly no matter where she went. I don't know how the results aren't in yet from the Virgin Islands, but I know she's playing it very hard. And in Nevada, she lost to no name. She had a no name, and she lost by, I guess, 40 points. So I don't know why she continues, but she's a, I don't really care if she continues. I think it's bad for the party. I think it's actually bad for her, too.
Mr. President, thank you for having us on a busy day here. Given the battles over presidential immunity, I'm wondering if all presidents and vice presidents will be immune from any legal consequences for any action they take during their term?
Well, I can say presidential immunity, which we'll be talking about because that will be upcoming, is very, very important for a president to have. If a president doesn't have immunity, he really doesn't have a presidency. He can be told to do things that he would never do. He can do really bad things for our country. Presidential immunity is imperative. It's going to be very, very important. And I'd rather talk about that next week. But there is nothing more important to a presidency than immunity, because they have to be free to make decisions without saying, oh, if I do this or if I do that, as soon as I get out of office, we're going to be indicted. We're going to have trouble. And the other party will do that. I think we've seen that. They've done that. There's some very bad people. And you have an opposition party, and they will do things that are very bad. If you don't have immunity, you can be blackmailed. You can be, as a president, they'll say, if you don't do this, this, and this, we're going to indict you as soon as you leave office. You cannot allow a president to be out there without immunity. If they don't have immunity, you don't have a presidency. You lose all, excuse me, you lose all form of free thought and good thought. And you probably weaken the presidency to a point that it was never supposed to be weakened. It would be a very bad thing for our country. We'll be talking about immunity in the coming weeks.
How confident are you that you will be treated fairly by the Supreme Court justices? And what sort of time frame do you need a decision in order for it not to derail the campaign?
Well, I'm a believer in our country, and I'm a believer in the Supreme Court. I listened today, and I thought our arguments were very, very strong. An argument that is very important is the fact that you're leading in every race, you're leading in every state, you're leading in the country against both Republican and Democrat. And Biden, you're leading in the country by a lot. And can you take the person that's leading everywhere and say, hey, we're not going to let you run? You know, I think that's pretty tough to do, but I'm leaving it up to the Supreme Court. Thank you all very much. Enjoy it. Thank you.
Do you believe President Trump violated
On the topic of Iran, sir, is the U.S. doing enough militarily?
He talked, Vanessa, on just about everything we just discussed in this pre-show about the reasons why they're going after him. He's leading in the polls. He's leading in a wide range of topics and problems that we have here. And it's no surprise that that's what they want to do. They want to simply throw the law at him to keep him out of the race.
Yeah, and when he was asked about his opinion on today's hearing in the Supreme Court, he says he thought it was a good one and he thought it was well received. That's quoting from a quote from President Trump, that it was well received. So we'll see how that plays out. He's answering some questions now from the media. From there, he will leave on Trump Force One and head to right here, Las Vegas, Nevada. We will be with him tonight at Treasure Island Hotel and Casino, where we will bring you coverage from the Nevada caucus watch party for the Trump team.
There you go. And of course, we'll have that and go to our social media platforms for all the times that we will be doing that as well. We do want to thank our partners for the day, the Birch Gold Group. We talked about the economy. We talked about savings and what is going on in the world, the devaluation of the dollar. Text the words Trump to 989898 and get your free information kit for gold, silver, and precious metals. It's easy to do. Lots of our viewers have done just that. They even show you how to convert a traditional IRA into a gold-backed IRA. So our friends over the Birch Gold Group, simply text the words Trump to 989898.
And that'll do it for us here in front of Trump Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada for tonight's coverage. It starts at 8 o'clock Eastern, so make sure you join us tonight. You know, a lot of people are starting to come in for the Super Bowl. They're betting on Taylor's boyfriend, and tonight we're betting on Melania's husband.
There you go. All right. On that note, we'll say so long, everybody, from Las Vegas. We'll see you back here a little bit later today. Goodbye and God bless. We'll see you.
What's up, guys? My name is Jaden Hurd, and I have a Christian show called Let It Be Heard, where we analyze culture and current events from a biblical perspective. I highly recommend you guys check us out. We now have episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And basically, what happens is we react to videos, we have talking points, we have on guests, and it's very exciting. Come check us out on Rumble on the RSBN channel. God bless you guys.
Welcome to the Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're not like the other media outlets out there that cut and edit what other people say. In 2015, we were created by our founder, Joe Seals, to cover President Donald J. Trump's speeches and rallies, to which we continue to do to this day. We've also covered important conservative events like CPAC, TPUSA, March for Life, and many other important events and hearings around the country. We were made for people like you, everyday Americans who are tired of the mainstream media, who are tired of being lied to, manipulated, and fed an agenda. Our goal here at Right Side Broadcasting is to allow you to see the truth, giving our correspondents and commentators a wide latitude to speak their minds. You won't find anything like this in the mainstream media. Your support through your donations, locals, and supporting our advertisers allows us to continue to cover important events around the country each and every day. So, from us here at Right Side Broadcasting, thank you for supporting us and the right side of history.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm here to tell you about my new product from MyPillow, towels that actually work. Watch this absorbency test. Here's another towel that we randomly went out and bought. Here's one of my towels with the nice design. I don't know if you can see this, but you could line a swimming pool with this. I mean, this is crazy. Get rid of it. Towels that actually work. What a concept. I'm interrupting this commercial to let you know you can get our 6-piece My Towels, regular $69.98, now only $29.98. Or you can save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels, made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Also, we have bath sheets, bath towels, washcloths, hand towels, and so much more. And the best part, with your promo code, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all My Towels. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
What's up, guys? My name is Jaden.